All right, Charlie. So I'm on the old allphly.com site today. I see you have published a new article, as you are wont to do.
Yeah.
You have a free mailbag article. As usual, your monthly mailbags. Part 1, Twitter questions, free for all.
Free for all.
Part 2, I assume will be out tomorrow. Or later this.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
I finished it up before I left for the studio, so it's done. It's just going to be published tomorrow.
All right, published tomorrow, and that is for diehards only. The questions are from the diehard Discord page. If you want access to any and all of that, allphly.com. Become a diehard. But part 1 is free for all, so check it out. Like after the show. But I wanted to target one question. Again, I'm not giving away your whole article. Go to allphly.com, read it for yourself. But the first question was the most interesting to me from at SPFly20. I guess it's Superfly. That's cool.
Superfly, I guess, yeah.
Given the front office's clear objective of building a good culture, do you think it's odd that all 3 guys with the letter and the social leader of the team in Joel Farabee are all being discussed as guys who could get traded? What message is that sending about culture and leadership? I found this to be an interesting question for a number of reasons.
Yes,
One,
I did too.
Who's discussing this?
Exactly.
And 2, I think it kind of distorts what the plan is a little bit. And we'll get to part 1 with your answer. But to me, I think this thing might take a little longer than maybe we're being led to believe. And it's because, as Keith Jones and Dan Helford, everyone has pointed out, we got to clean up this salary cap thing.
It's going to take a couple of years to do.
This leadership and culture is to get us through what might be another season or 2 of some lean times. That's what it's about right now. So that there is leadership and culture left when they can be good. Am I wrong in thinking that?
I think that's part of it, to be sure. And I do think that the long-term plan is for these current leaders, maybe not Konechny if they sign an 8-year contract, but a lot of these current leaders to, turn the room over to some of the young guys who are developing into not just better players, but hopefully into players that can take charge of a room, that can hold people accountable, things like that. So I don't necessarily think it would be the worst thing if the plan is we care about leadership, but Sean Couturier doesn't have to be on this team forever for us to have good leadership. We can have other leaders step up. But the really interesting part about this question is just that, and I broke this down in the article, I don't think, in particular, the 3 guys with a letter, so they are Sean Couturier, Travis Konechny, and Scott Laughton, I don't think they are actually getting shopped. I think they are getting, by the team. I think they are getting shopped on Twitter. And the thing with this question is, I think that some people, and it's a trap we can all fall into. We spend so much time online, and that becomes the bulk of our lives, at least in terms of the life that we interact with intelligently. And if you're seeing discourse online with a bunch of people talking about, well, what if they traded Travis Konechny? What about if they traded Travis Konechny for this? What if they traded Travis Konechny for that? What could you get for Travis Konechny? You start to think that in reality, the Flyers are actively trying to trade Travis Konechny, because if they weren't, why would so many people be talking about it? They must be trying to do it because all these people online are talking about it. I can tell you that I have heard nothing from my sources with the team and my sources in the league that the Flyers are shopping Travis Konechny. It's not happening. They're trying to re-sign him. All of the trade Travis Konechny talk is coming from people online who want Travis Konechny to be traded. And they have every right to believe that. I personally would trade Travis Konechny rather than re-sign him to an 8-year contract with a $9+ million cap hit. But the question implies, what does it say about their view of the leadership if they are actively trying to trade all of their leaders? And the reality is they're not. It's the fans online that are actively trying to trade all of the leaders, and that's fine. The fans can believe that that's the right move. People online can believe that that's the right move. That's fair. They have every right to that opinion. But don't then turn it into a feedback loop of then seeing all that discourse and believing that, well, the team must be thinking the same thing. Especially with Konechny and Couturier, They're not.
That's like individually, Travis Konechny, and we will get to that super chat in just 1 second. But like Travis Konechny, all right, yeah, it makes sense to maybe explore. All right, we want to re-sign him. We have a number in mind. Maybe he wants a little more. If extension talks break down, then we have to start exploring.
Sure, of course.
But we have no indication that any of that has happened yet, outside of like, yeah, they're talking a little.
Yeah.
We very much believe that he is going to be re-signed. If that's not the case, then they'll maybe start exploring a trade. But like, I just have a lot of trouble believing Travis Konechny's going anywhere.
I just think that it's not that like having the opinion they should trade Travis Konechny is wrong. It's that believing that because a bunch of loud online fans think they should trade Travis Konechny, that then means that they are actually trying to trade Travis Konechny. That's not true. It's the same thing with Couturier. Like, yes, the Asian switch thing was weird. And I do think that, and I put this in the column, I think that was more Couturier planning for the possibility that at some point in the future, he might need to explore a trade. But in the here and now, they are not trying to trade their captain. You might think they should be trying to trade their captain because you think that they should try to get out from under this Couturier contract as quickly as possible, and they should try to strong arm him to try to waive his no move. Maybe you think that, and maybe that gets discussed on Twitter because it's a thought experiment, but don't then come all the way back around to believe that the Flyers are actively shopping all of their players with a letter. When it comes to Laughton, yeah, Laughton is theoretically available. But the only reason why Laughton hasn't been traded is because they value his leadership that much. If he didn't have the leadership thing, he'd be gone by now.
Like Sean Couturier, there's really just no way out of this thing.
Unless he wants to leave.
Unless he wants to leave. Right. And even then, like a bunch of other shit has to fall into place because I don't want to be covering his 50% of his contract for the next 6 years. And I don't think the Flyers do either. Like, and if a team's willing to take it, that means he shows he's good again. And if he's good again, just keep him because he's the captain of your team. Like, there's just so many things that have to line up. It's a down the line conversation at best.
Yes, exactly.
I just don't think it's a thing that's going to happen. And there's also the hiring an agent thing, the agent switch.
It's interesting.
Was interesting.
It is.
There's also just the incident that happened where he didn't technically have an agent. He had a dude on paper for the PA, but it wasn't really his agent. And then that dude is speaking for him, and it's like, well, shit, man. No, I'm gonna hire like a professional to do this.
Get an actual
I need an actual agent because this guy's gonna go around saying he's my agent, and I'm already got a fucking problem with the coach, and now it's a whole thing.
Yeah,
let's just go get the best agent in hockey, and that's one of the ones he got, I guess. And then Laughton, that's the example that proves the opposite of this question.
Exactly.
He's the exact kind of player you do trade in a rebuild. Like, oh yeah, we'd get more for him than he's like worth on the ice. And that's what we're going for, but we value his leadership so much, we're keeping him.
Right, exactly.
And then there's Farabee.
And Farabee's the one where it's interesting, because I do agree that Farabee is, out of all of the young guys on the team, and by young, I'm talking about like under 25 guys, Farabee's the one guy who I, both in terms of what I've seen and in terms of what other players in the team have told me, is stepping up into a leadership role. And it is interesting that fact has not influenced the Flyers to say he's untouchable because he's part of our future leadership core. I don't think they're actively shopping him. I think that also is more of a Twitter creation because people want things to happen because it's the summer and they're bored, and Joel Farabee is a name that they can talk about and theorize about. I don't think he's being shopped, but it's clear that they are not closing the door on a Farabee trade, and it's interesting. That is interesting, and that's fair. But the final question in this question was, what message is that sending about culture and leadership? Being that all of Couturier, Konechny, Laughton, and Farabee are being talked about as possible trade options. The message it sends, and this is the actual answer, which I didn't put in the mailbag, but I probably should have. The actual message it sends is that online fans don't value culture and leadership, because that's where most of this chatter is coming from. And the message it sends is not that the Flyers don't value it, it's that the fans online don't value it because they are ready to trade away all four of these guys because they don't think leadership is that important. That's the Flyers, I don't think, share that, but that's the message it sends. It sends that fans don't think it's that important.
It's clear they value it when it's like, in all likelihood, none of these guys are getting traded. Like 3 of the 4 of these guys probably aren't getting traded. Like Farabee is interesting to me because he would be, if I'm a contending team, he'd be an attractive target. Youngish, cost controlled for several years. You know you're going to be giving him $5 million for like 3-4 more years. Like 20 goal score. Like you know exactly what you're getting out of Joel Farabee. Plus, there's another level that he could hit. He may, he might not, but even right now.
We saw it in the first half.
Yeah, like even right now, he's a pretty damn good player.
First half, he was near point per game, play driving winger, top of the lineup guy. If he's that for a full season, we're talking about a 70-point player.
We all silly like the mayor.